Today's Wild West is in Buffalo, Wyoming at the historic Occidental Hotel, where Butch Cassidy, Calamity Jane, and Buffalo Bill spent the night. We'll take the tour coming up on today's Wild West. Calamity Jane, Buffalo Bill, Butch Cassidy, and the Sundance Kid. They're among the legends of the Old West who spent the night at the historic Occidental Hotel in Buffalo, Wyoming. And you can too.
When you step in the Occidental, you're stepping back in time. We've kept the authenticity of the Occidental.
From its vintage tin ceilings to the original wood floors and complete period furnishings, the hotel is real deal Old West.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like being back in old Buffalo.
You're staying in a living museum. This is a living museum.
The Occidental began in 1879 as a collection of tents along Clear Creek, catered to miners coming out of the nearby Bighorn Mountains looking for a hot meal and a place to stay.
Well, it's one of the last frontier hotels in the United States. You know, they're getting few and far between.
Soon replaced by a permanent log hotel, the Occidental also housed a bank, a stagecoach stop, a restaurant, and a saloon, and became the center of frontier Buffalo.
We had court here when there wasn't a courthouse when it was being built. I mean, the posse to hunt down Nate Champion's killer was formed here in the saloon.
Hired gun Tom Horn once checked in during those early years, as did future President Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid both stayed here. Butch Cassidy signed the ledger in 1896, and it's very interesting because he did sign the ledger Butch Cassidy. He didn't sign it Leroy Parker or any other kind of alias. He literally signed it Butch Cassidy.
With talk of the railroad coming to town, new owner Oscar Quick replaced the wooden hotel with a new brick structure.
The reason we have the buildings today, the brick, the wood trim, the tin ceilings, are actually because of him, who purchased it in 1896.
But the railroad chose to build their depot in nearby Sheridan. Legend says the despondent and financially struggling Quick, also mourning the death of his young daughter, lost the hotel in a poker game to ranchers John Smith and his son Al.
This is how the folklore goes. There's a very fine line between folklore and history, but yeah, he lost the hotel.
Al's wife Margaret was recruited to run the place while they figured out what to do with it. She never left, running the Occidental for the next 59 years. Until she died at the age of 92.
Margaret Smith was an amazing woman that kept this place running all the way till 1976, and then her kids then had it afterwards. So without her and her impact, this building might not be here.
Today you can see Margaret's collection of vintage 1890s clothing.
It's really a beautiful part of the history of the hotel.
Her quilts and other items, among the many historic artifacts displayed throughout the Occidental. While Margaret did keep the hotel going, the hotel was also going downhill.
The building was getting very, very dilapidated.
And by the 1990s, there were plans to tear it down. But Californians Dawn Dawson and her husband, author John Wexo, bought the building just in time.
It was 8 weeks from being torn down. The city was going to tear it down. And so she saved the building.
Long story short, they began the process of restoring the Occidental to its former glory.
All the bricks been repointed on the building. New roof.
Before handing the reins to current owners, Dave and Jackie Stewart.
It's been a labor of love to keep it going, for sure, you know. But the hotel's doing well.
Today, the Stewarts operate a thriving, acclaimed historic hotel that attracts people from all over the world.
75% of our clientele in the summer is European. The Europeans come here for the history, you know. They want the history of the Old West, and we have it here.
And the music. The hotel saloon hosts live music every night, where you can hang out at the historic bar and check out the bullet holes from back in the day and the original tin ceiling.
Not to mention the food that we serve here. We've got elk and bison.
And just steps away inside the hotel, you can enjoy fine dining at the Virginian, a restaurant named after the famous novel by Owen Wister, who is believed to have written at least part of that book while staying at the Occidental.
Supposedly those characters are based off of locals that lived here at the turn of the century. And that big fight scene is supposedly based off of our street.
Ernest Hemingway is another author who spent the night here, as did former President Herbert Hoover, who lived at the hotel for 3 weeks in 1934. More recent famous guests include singer-songwriter Michael Martin Murphey, the cast of the hit modern TV western Longmire, and actor Paul Giamatti.
He just called me up one time and said, this is Paul Giamatti, I want to come and stay at the Occidental. And he came out and stayed with us for 10 days. Had a ball. He wanted to stay in almost every room.
All of the rooms, in fact the entire hotel, is decorated and furnished like a period-correct Old West time capsule, but with all the amenities you'd expect in a modern hotel. Plus, something you might not expect.
We have been voted the most haunted hotel in Wyoming. We've got a little girl ghost named Emily, kind of runs around upstairs in the 1904 structure.
Guests have left a collection of dolls in a coffee room for Emily.
Part of the reason that we chose this, we are like fascinated by the paranormal stuff, so we'd heard that this hotel might have some haunted rooms or haunted levels upstairs. So that was the first draw, but then we just kind of stayed for...
Because it was just beautiful and fun.
Mackenzie and Matt Whitaker never did see Emily, or any other ghost for that matter, but they did have a good time, extending their planned one-night stay to 3.
No, I mean, we just kind of felt right at home as soon as we stepped foot in here, so I think that was...
Not just the hotel, the whole town, everything's great.
Yeah.
And if you like Western history, you're in the right neighborhood.
And even if you wanted to dress that and participate in our history and be an active character in your own right, you can do that. We have people that do it all the time.
The site of the Fetterman Massacre, the Wagon Box Fight, and Fort Phil Kearny are just a short drive from the hotel. The Little Bighorn Battlefield, where Custer made his last stand, is just 90 minutes north. The Occidental was founded just 4 years after that most famous fight of the Indian Wars.
I think it's cool to think about what this place, back in the day, what it looked like, and kind of picture that when we're here, so.
Would you recommend?
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
The staff is amazing. Everyone's been super friendly. The saloon's a lot of fun. We played pool.
Yep.
The Busy Bee next door, great food. So we've just had a really good time.
Not many people get to step into a historic building of this age with this kind of culture and history, because a lot of these things have been lost.
Listed on the National Register of Historic Places, the Occidental Hotel, where Butch and Sundance, Calamity Jane, and Buffalo Bill spent the night. And you can too.